Hi, my name is Jesse, and I'm getting baptized today. Okay, so this is my first church ever. I had never been to church until I was in my 30s. So I've been coming here for like 2 months, and I've been to church like less than 10 times, but I've been learning about it for a long time leading up to it. Yeah, so I mean, that's sort of the short answer for how I got here. Most of the story's tied up in my mom, actually. So when I was little, I was really smart. That was kind of my thing or whatever. So mom always praised me for that and believed in me for that. And I felt like I had to be the smartest person in the room, in any room I walked into. I had to be sort of a little bit better, a little bit brighter than everybody, because that's just kind of how I identified myself. So I grew up surrounded by church people, so of course I had to be smarter than all the church people. And I sort of looked down my nose at it and thought I was better, and so I was just your classic little smart, like 13-year-old atheist, smart aleck kid that just thought he was better than all of that. So I was never open to it, and I sort of judged it and thought it was all, fairy tales and people. Silly people were in the churches. That's how I thought about it. Life was also really hard growing up, so it was funny. There was always like a little sliver of, I would just see my friends who went to church and I'd be like, why is their life so much smoother than mine? So I guess the door was open like a crack, at least for me, a little bit. I always just had like a little bit of wonder about it. I went to school I did a double major in English literature and psychology, and then I got my master's degree after that. So I spent a long time studying psychology and the way people think and what makes people happy. I'm a psychotherapist now, so it's my job to try to help people get to that point. Life is just like full of suffering, and a lot of people have it very hard, like including myself. So I thought, it's, well, what gets people through that? And the thing it kept pointing me back to, even though I didn't want to hear it, was faith, God. That's one of the very few things that protects people against the inevitable suffering that we all go through. So that wasn't the answer that I wanted, but it's the one that kept coming up. And so that kind of piqued my curiosity a little bit. If I was going to be like intellectually honest, I had to look into it a little more. So I started learning about it, like watching the YouTube videos of the psychologists out there that would talk about things like faith and all the benefits that it has for people. That kind of opened the door a little bit more. I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this. My factory setting was like the bitterness and despair about my life and how it was going, and that got me nowhere. It made everything worse. When I was coming into adulthood, I was like undiagnosed mental illness. I had no job, no prospects, no car, no driver's license, no plan for my future whatsoever. I was, drinking all the time with my buddies and living a sinful life of selfishness, and everything just kept moving me downwards. And when I stopped focusing on myself and I hit a breaking point, was eventually like, I can't be the one who I'm worshiping. I can't be the top. I can't handle it. It turns out that following myself led me to misery, and I needed something higher than that and something better than that. I started believing in God in 2022. I decided to just take the leap from the side of the fence that thought it was cool and interesting and helpful for people, but I was sort of detached from it. And I decided to take the leap and say I believed in God. And then a few months after that, my mom died.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
So she died in 2022. I say she died of a broken heart. So my dad left, and then also her own mom died a bit before that, and she went down a bad path of despair and
Yes.
turning away from family and God and everybody. And yeah, it, I mean, she suffered a lot.
Yeah.
And then she died, and then I suffered a lot.
For sure.
And, you know, I was left with the classic questions of like, I just started believing in God, and then,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Wow.
but I learned from Mom, and I didn't turn away from it. And, you know, I turned towards it instead, and I brought my suffering to God instead of holding it against God. I was mad, but I was curious, right? And I decided not to turn away. So I looked more into it and like read about it, and I tried to, you know, I believed in God in sort of a generic way, like the God of the Bible, I guess, but I didn't know Jesus. I knew very little of Jesus. And, you know, when you have those big questions of like, you know, God, why would you have me go through this? It's easy to think of it as cruel, but then when I learned more about Jesus and, you know, what he did for me, I started to understand it a little better. I said, well, you know, here's a God who at least understands my suffering. You know, what happened to Jesus when he came? You know, he was persecuted, tormented, crucified. He's the perfect innocent lamb who suffered more than anybody, died terribly and tragically for my sake. And, you know, those big questions are kind of answered when you go like, okay, here's a God who understands my suffering. You know, he's suffering with me and for me, and I wasn't alone during that time. So I turned towards God when Mom died instead of turning away from him, and that's kind of how I found Jesus, you know, a God who understood what I was going through and cared about it and loved me. Yeah, I bought my own Bible, and I was the only one I knew who believed any of it, and I just had to sit down with my Bible and read it, and it was hard. I was not prepared for just how thick it was and how dense with meaning it was and how cool it was and how dramatic and interesting and everything about it. I was like, this is the greatest book ever. I was like, why does nobody know about it? But yeah, everybody knows about it except me. So yeah, so it was it was lonely and personal, but it was very much just me and God and the book trying to figure it out. So I had nobody for guidance or anything like that. So
Except him, I guess.
yeah,
right?
except him. So yeah, I was very, very much self-taught until I came here and decided to, you know, get serious about it and do the parts that matter a lot, that like being in the community and worshiping, and you know, I had to, I don't know, do it for real, do the whole thing, and not just have it be a book on my shelf that I pick up when I have time. What it does for you to put God first in a marriage, and she has been wonderful. She jumped in with both feet right along with me. You know, as soon as I opened the door and kind of talked to her about it, and you know, admitted like, I think I believe in God, which was definitely not,
What a conversation,
yeah,
right?
not exactly who, you know, she fell in love with. Not that she had anything against it, but that wasn't who I was when we started dating. And she went right along with me, and now she's always listening to the podcast about faith, and she's here every Sunday with me too, and she comes to me with questions, and we can talk about it, and we sort of look for God and how he's operating in our lives. And you know, it's I was very blessed to have a wife who was on board and was there with me the whole time, because the start of the journey, I said, was kind of lonely and personal. And then it's just, as soon as I shared it with my wife, she was in there with me too. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I didn't know what to expect, really. It's a little odd the first day. It's like, oh, I don't know any of these songs.
For sure.
Until we got to like Christmas time, then I was like, oh, these ones are bangers. I know these ones. Yeah, I'm starting to learn the songs more. And then, you know, it was, and then we got into the scripture, and I was like, okay, this is this is the part I like. I can't get enough of it. I like my YouTube is just, it's all scripture and church, and like it's all I think about all the time. I'm completely on fire for it, and like I can't get enough now. Now that I'm here, I'm on this side of the fence, and everyone here is great. Everyone's so nice. It's kind of nerve-wracking to go into a room with like 100 plus strangers and do something that you've never done before, but everybody treated me like I've been coming here for years the second I walked through the door. So the community here is something really special, and everybody made it really easy. It felt like it wasn't for me. Like, my understanding was like the average understanding of everybody outside the church is that you just sort of dunk your baby in the water, and that's just something that I missed the boat on, was that I didn't grow up in the church, and that I had already missed out on so many of the things that you get from growing up in the church, and that baptism was one of those things. And then like it felt like I wasn't allowed, or wasn't supposed to be for me. But learning more about it, I'm like, wow, what an opportunity this is. I can tell everybody what Jesus has done for me. I can proclaim as loud as I can, like my faith, and I can, go through the baptism process. And that, for me, it's very symbolic of the fact that everybody's welcome here, and it's never too late to come to God. Yeah, I think baptism is a way to say it loudly and proudly, and I get to participate in this thing that I thought I missed out on. All of a sudden, life is wonderful. I have so much to be grateful for, and I'm so happy that I get to live my life for Him instead of me now, and I get to raise my son here and give him all the gifts that I didn't have. I had to find on my own, and he's not going to have to go through some of the same things that I went through to get here. I have something that I can give him to hold on to in difficult times, and I'm excited for the whole thing. I'm excited to learn more every Sunday. I'm excited to learn more in my personal time. I can't put down my Bible, and the whole thing is wonderful, and I can't believe all the good things I have in my life and how far I've come. Yeah. I like to think of it as like I spent my whole life living in Psalm 22, and then I found Psalm 23, and okay. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for Thou art with me. Thy rod and Thy staff comfort me. Thou preparest a table for me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.